In the 4 years following the basketball star Allen, I really don't know what I am to him. I don't even dare to say that we are in love, nor do I dare to say break up, because he has never clearly told me what our relationship really is. I've decided to withdraw from his arena and this relationship. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. When I opened Twitter, my private messages were filled with abuse. Bella, why are you so desperate? You clearly know how important this season is for brother Allen. Yet you keep pestering him. An athlete's prime time is just a few years. Please leave Allen. Don't affect his games. Allen rubbed his waist several times during the final the day before yesterday. It must be because of you tiring him out. Can you stop being a stumbling block in his sports career? Bella, why don't you just go and die? If I were insulted like this, I would have already committed suicide. Putting down my phone, I forced myself to cheer up and walked out of the studio. My assistant pointed at the newly delivered express packages at the door with a somewhat apprehensive look. Sister Bella, these express packages. She stood far away, hesitating to speak. The express boxes piled up like a small hill. Without even opening them, I knew what was inside. They were nothing more than things like hell banknotes, shroud clothes, animal corpses, and cursed dolls filled with needles set by those radical female fans. Even if a doll looks normal at first glance, upon closer inspection, there must be a pinhole camera hidden on it. In the past few years, I've been opening such express packages almost every day. I stared at my phone, and the chat record with Allen was still from the night before yesterday. I asked, "Will you come home tomorrow?" He replied, "No, I have to shoot promotional materials." That day, Allen won the championship of this year's basketball professional league playoff. Since he made his debut in his first professional game at the age of 18, his career has been a journey full of difficulties and challenges. In the photos of the celebration banquet secretly taken by fans, Allen was clearly drunk and in high spirits. He was huddled in the corner of the private room, chatting intimately with the team doctor, Edith. A group of fans online exclaimed that they were shipping the combination of the basketball star and the team doctor. The team didn't refute the rumors, nor did they do any public relations. They let the public opinion keep fermenting until a video today almost confirmed the relationship between the two. Four middle-aged people walked out of the high-end restaurant with smiles on their faces. Then came Allen, walking side by side with Edith behind them. I could recognize Allen's parents, and the other two were quickly revealed to be Edith's parents. A group of people stood outside the restaurant waiting for the driver to bring the car over. I really hate how clear the paparazzi's camera is, recording the smiles on everyone's faces so distinctly, including Allen, who is always expressionless, indifferent, and impatient with me. He really isn't stingy with his smiles in front of others. This time, it's not just the fans shipping them. Almost the whole country is about to know that the two are getting close to having a happy ending. I returned to the home where I had lived with Allen for 2 years and called him. Although the possibility of there being a misunderstanding in the video is extremely slim, I still want to ask Allen clearly to avoid any future regret or unwillingness. In these 4 years, I've really tried my best. After trying so hard, I should at least give myself an answer. I saw the video online, the one at the restaurant entrance. I said directly as soon as the call was connected. Allen paused for a moment before saying indifferently, "So what?" I smiled bitterly. Every time I question him, he casually throws the question back at me, making me even think that I'm being unreasonable. "Nothing much," I said calmly. "I just want to ask how far you and Edith have gone, so that I can make room for you too." "Don't think too much," came this perfunctory reply again. "You've already met each other's parents. Isn't it reasonable for me to think about it? I don't want to delve into how many times the two families have met before tonight. The person sleeping beside me is about to step into the marriage hall, and I only found out about it through the trending searches. If the paparazzi hadn't happened to capture it, would I have been unceremoniously kicked out before his wedding? It has nothing to do with you," Allen said. I understood. He meant that I had no right to interfere in his affairs. After hanging up the phone, I still clicked into the chat window with him. Scrolling up, there was a sea of green messages. They were all me sharing my life with him, worrying about his health, and asking about his schedule. And the white messages from him were few and short, like, oh, not available, have training, busy, whatever. It was like giving my one-sided daily chats a read approval. With a sound, the light in the living room above suddenly malfunctioned and went out. It was as if the only spotlight that belonged to me on the stage had disappeared. This scene was so eerie that it seemed like the will of heaven. It didn't matter that the light went out. Anyway, I've been acting out a one-man show all along, with no audience, from beginning to end. To Alan, I was just compensation for his drunken gaffe that time. In the 3rd year of my secret love for him, at the end of the 3rd year of university, my friends and I rented a seaside villa for a vacation. Alcohol gave me the courage. With a bit of drunkenness, I called him alone to an empty room upstairs and confessed my love to him. Because I was nervous, I didn't dare to turn on the light. By the dim moonlight, I said the words that I had hidden for 3 years. Alan, I like you. He also seemed to be a bit tipsy, with an unusual redness on his face. Before I could stutter through my confession, he pushed me onto the sofa, leaned over, and kissed me. I quietly left after he fell asleep and returned to my own room. He set off early the next morning to meet up with the team and prepare for a very important game. Although we didn't go all the way because it was too painful, he still came to me a few days later and proposed that we could give it a try. Alan, let's end this. I sent this message, which meant that our 4-year relationship was about to be cut off. I was reluctant. Of course I was. I had fantasized about the ending between me and Alan countless times in the past few years, both good and bad. This relationship might have been my one-sided persistence from the start, and I deserved all the bitterness and hardship. But when this day really came, my heart still ached so much that it felt like I was suffocating. I knew that I wasn't invincible, no matter how much reason I had. It was now crushed by the endless cyberbullying from the fans and Alan's cold violence. Yes, I'm just an ordinary photographer who has no help for his career. How can I compare to the team doctor who eats, lives, and stays with him day and night and has a revolutionary friendship with him? Moreover, he and Edith are a perfect match in terms of family background. A natural couple. I numbly looked at the sweet moments compiled by the CP fans of the two of them and fell asleep with tears in my eyes. In the middle of the night, I was vaguely woken up by the ringing of the phone and answered the call from Alan. A tired but still cold voice came from the other side. Have you had enough of making a fuss? The schedule has been very tight recently, and I'm very tired. If it's because I've ignored you recently, I apologize. Just from these few words, I could imagine the impatient coldness on Alan's face even through the phone. I've seen it many times, and I should have been used to it. But my heart still ached dully. So much that I could hardly breathe. I've been staying by his side obediently for so many years. Even when I was ignored and felt sad, I never showed him a bad face or said a harsh word to him. My dignity has been trampled on, and my heart is as good as dead. It turns out that in his eyes, it's just a farce to seek attention. Let me talk to her, came Edith's gentle voice from the other side. Bella, did you see the trending searches? Don't misunderstand. It was just a meal between the two families. Alan and I have known each other for so many years. If we wanted to be together, there wouldn't be any place for you. Don't go online these few days. Just stay at home and wait for Alan to come back. He's really tired this season. Please don't cause him any more trouble. Okay. Although these were sensible words of consolation, I found them very harsh. Could it be that they really couldn't empathize with my despair and discouragement after seeing the trending searches and being cyberbullied? Yes. It has always been like this. Countless details over the past few years have proven this. Alan only sees me as a bed partner to satisfy his desires. When I was greedy and tried to ask for his affection, he would always ignore me and watch indifferently. It's been 4 years. This relationship that I originally planned to bear the losses and gains on my own is really too tiring. Alan, I'm not making a fuss. I held back my sobs and said calmly, you are a rising basketball star in the sports world, bringing glory to the country with everyone's expectations. I can't ask you to always be by my side and take care of my emotions. But I also don't want to live a life where I have to reflect on what I did wrong every day when I wake up. I don't want to live a life where I have to go home on time every day and wait for your spare time to pay attention to me. And I don't want to live a life where I'm constantly chased and scolded by your fans in the dark. After being coldly treated by you for 4 years, I admit defeat. So, let's break up. I'm just an ordinary girl. I also want the company of my lover and, more importantly, his wholehearted love. The two people on the other side of the phone were silent for a short moment, and it was Edith who spoke first. There was blame in her voice. Bella, Alan is under a lot of pressure recently. If you can't share his burden, at least don't cause trouble at this time. Okay. If you're jealous of my relationship with him, I can apply to be transferred to the second-tier team and keep a distance from him. I sneered. Are you using your magnanimity and sensibility to set off my pettiness and willfulness? This is really a clever move. If you two are really innocent, why were you still together at 2 o'clock in the morning? Do you really think everyone is a fool? Sure enough, Alan took the phone back, and his tone was even more indifferent than before. Bella, I think you haven't slept enough. I'll pretend I didn't hear what you said about breaking up. Enough. It's definitely enough. I thought as I hung up the phone. It's really enough to have spent the best 7 years of my youth loving someone as cold-hearted as you. When I woke up after a good sleep, my phone was full of messages from Alan. Stay at home and wait for me. I'll be back after finishing shooting a few promotional materials and videos. Edith and I are not what you think. I'll explain it to you when I have the chance. Don't look at the news online. Calm down and we'll have a good talk when I'm done with my work. I'll find some time to go back and accompany you for 2 days. Baby, be good. He hardly ever sent me messages on his own initiative. The total number of words in these messages exceeded the sum of the approval messages he sent me in the past year. It's fake to say that my heart didn't stir. I just decided to break up yesterday. How could I completely let go of someone I've liked for 7 years overnight? My feelings for him are entangled in my heart like vines. I can't deal with them simply. I can only cut them off bit by bit. It's like a hangnail beside the nail. Pulling it out will hurt for 3 days. But if I don't pull it out, it will gradually become inflamed and fester. In the past 4 years, I understood the hardships he faced as an athlete in the rising stage. So I never even dared to dream of the slightest bit of return. The CP of him and Edith became popular all over the internet. And I became the vicious supporting female character who was pestering him in the mouths of the fans. I had to bear the overwhelming cyberbullying. In the end, I was the one being called willful and not considering the overall situation. Once, I went to the club to wait for him to finish training and go home together. He probably got injured accidentally during the confrontation training, and Edith was simply treating his wound on the sidelines. He lowered his head and watched her squatting on the ground disinfecting his wound. Their heads were touching, and they looked so intimate. It was just a minor scratch. But Edith even blew on his wound with a look of heartbroken for a long time. I saw him smiling and stretching his eyebrows as he pulled her up by the arm. This scene hurts me, but it was recorded by the club's publicity department with a camera and became a sweet moment in the eyes of countless CP fans. I had a huge argument with him, but he directly packed his things and went to the training camp, leaving me cold for a month. When he came back, I was too happy to see him to waste time arguing with him, and he has never publicly refuted the rumors about his relationship with Edith. Instead, after the game, he protected Edith, who was wearing his large sports jacket, and rushed through the crowd of fans to get on the club's bus. After being ignored again and again, I finally woke up. I got up and simply packed my important documents and casual clothes. Before leaving, I also helped him pack the garbage bag in the living room. When I left, the weather was very good, sunny and pleasant. I closed the door, stepped down the stairs, and got into the ride-hailing car without looking back. When I decided to leave yesterday, I had already bought a plane ticket to Paris. I headed straight to the airport, but I happened to meet Alan, who had just returned with the team. What on earth do you want to do? Alan asked impatiently. Maybe if I were him and saw the person who said they wanted to end things just now blocking the airport as soon as I got off the plane, I would also think it was a trick of playing hard to get. He glanced at the suitcase I was carrying with me, and his face turned even colder. I've been squeezing time and rushing through my schedule just to come back and accompany you. Is this how you repay me? I've already said that I'll solve it. Stop using such means to attract my attention in the future. It's really sad. At this moment, he still thinks that I'm playing a low-class trick. It turns out that I've been like a clown in his eyes all these years. But since I've always been seen as selfish and willful in his eyes anyway, there's no need to explain anything. Let it be. Do you know what day it is today? I suddenly asked calmly. Alan was taken aback. It's the day 7 years ago when I first saw you on the basketball court. All my passwords, including the password for your front door, are set with this date. If you had really paid attention to me, even a little bit, you wouldn't have gone 7 years without knowing that today is our anniversary. Alan's expression became a bit unnatural. Frowning, he said, Bella, if you want to celebrate the anniversary, you can just tell me directly. I just didn't pay attention. Yes, you just don't care about me. I interrupted him. Just now. He must have been very certain that as long as we met, and he gave me a little hug or a kiss, or even without having to coax me. I would happily go back with him. I would continue to stay in that empty house, being his bed partner and nanny. Perhaps I was really happy once, a kind of self-satisfied, lonely happiness, but not for a single moment in this relationship was I happy because I felt his love. Bella, stop making a scene. There are already a large number of fans over there who have seen you. Don't let the fans laugh at us. Hurry up and come with us. Edith, who had been standing beside Alan, chided. Alan is in a very crucial assessment period these 2 days. Don't cause him any trouble. Even Alan, who always had an expressionless face, looked stern upon hearing this and grabbed my arm, trying to take me away. Come home with me first. After we get back, you can celebrate the anniversary however you want, and I'll do as you say. I looked at the fans in the distance who were rushing towards us at full speed, holding their phones, cameras, and placards. It seemed that I could hear again the uniform slogans of his fans scolding me after each basketball game. The familiar feeling of suffocation overwhelmed me. I gritted my teeth and held back my tears, breaking free from his hand. Alan, it's over. I don't like you anymore. I pulled my suitcase and quickly fled into the security check area. Looking back for the last time, I met his gaze from a distance across the layers of crazy fans. This might be the last time I looked at Alan like this. No matter how thin and sad this relationship was, the man in front of me was still the one I had loved for 7 years. Just take one more look. He still looked the same as the person I loved 7 years ago. Tall and straight, with fair skin, long legs, and broad shoulders. The brim of his baseball cap half covered his eyes, revealing the delicate lower half of his face. He was still the most eye-catching presence in the crowd, but at this moment, his shoulders were slumped, and he stood there in a daze, looking lost. Somehow, I thought of a little dog I had picked up before, which had been abandoned by its owner. It had the exact same expression. I immediately shook my head and smiled mockingly. How could that be possible? This was Alan. The plane soared into the sky, and I closed my eyes at an altitude of tens of thousands of meters. A cup of juice, along with the in-flight meal, was poured over my head and body. I opened my eyes. It was a young girl wearing a jersey with Alan's number on it. She looked at me with hatred in her eyes. Bitch, stay away from brother Alan. Get out of the country and don't come back. You don't deserve him at all. I hid in the bathroom to tidy myself up and smiled bitterly at the mirror. I remembered the last message I received from Alan before turning off my phone. If you want to go out and relax, then I'll wait for you. Anyway, I won't break up with you. I suddenly found it ridiculous. What on earth was I thinking all these years to have burned so much love in such a relationship? And even my determination to give up was regarded by the other party as being in a temper. He probably thought that the main culprit was the meeting between two families. In fact, this was just a fuse, the last straw that broke the camel's back. Even if he told me directly today that there was no engagement or marriage. So what? Was I still going to obediently go back to the past and continue to be treated indifferently, ignored, and trampled on? Forget it. The life of chasing after him for the past 7 years has been very tiring, and I don't have the strength to repeat the same mistakes. When my best friend Gloria picked me up at Charles de Gaulle Airport, she saw my red and swollen eyes and my embarrassing appearance. She felt so sorry for me that she choked up. Did Alan drive you out? Probably because she had never seen anyone break up and only bring a small suitcase. After all, we had lived together for 2 years. The only reason was that I was kicked out by Alan. Yes, I casually teased her. I'll kill him. Gloria raised her voice, and her eyes immediately turned red. That bastard Alan. I told you that few basketball players are good. You were wholeheartedly good to him, and he still drove you out. As she spoke, she looked like she was going to rush back to the airport and take a plane to settle accounts with Alan. I quickly grabbed her and raised my hand to swear. I'm just kidding. I dumped him. He probably hasn't even figured out what's going on yet. I've advised you so many times, but you were so stubborn. Why did you suddenly see the light? Maybe I'm just tired. I shrugged and smiled indifferently. We never officially said we were together anyway. Gloria was indignant on my behalf. I've long said that Alan has bullied you so much. His fans are like rabid dogs, biting at you non-stop. And he was also involved with that green tea team doctor. Losing you is his loss. Let him regret it. Goodbye to the scumbag. The next one will be better. I smiled and hugged Gloria. 7 years ago today, as a freshman in the photography department, I took a stunning photo of the campus heartthrob from the Sports Institute during a basketball game. Alan looking back while dribbling the ball. The basketball jersey, the sweat, the look in his eyes, the delicate jawline, and the superior shoulder and necklines. The clear features of the 18-year-old boy and the blurred crowd around him. Even after all these years, I can still recall the scene at that time, in the noisy stadium. He suddenly paused for a second and looked intently at my camera. I had a quiet gaze with Alan through the viewfinder. At that moment, it seemed that everything around me was emptied. It was so quiet that I could clearly hear my own heartbeat. Just like that, I fell for him. I turned on the computer, found a folder named GSQ, selected it, and deleted it completely. It was full of photos of Alan, on the basketball court, on the playground, on the tree-lined road, with an expressionless face, a faint smile, in a daze, or asleep, for every scene and every moment related to Alan. From the day I started to have feelings for him to the day I gave up. I can clearly recall the mood when I took each photo. Those were my best 7 years, with a heart full of love, loving someone with all my might. I have a hunch that perhaps I will never love another person as much as I loved him. In the late night in Paris, 12,000 kilometers away from Alan, I finally, for the last time, shed tears for him, in the blink of an eye. 3 years passed. In these 3 years, I tried my best to avoid news about Alan, but even in the streets and alleys of Paris, I could see his billboards as soon as I looked up. After separating from me 3 years ago, Alan was selected into a global top basketball club through a selection process and signed to play in the North American Professional League. In these 3 years, his career has been getting smoother and smoother. He has fans all over the world and is a well-deserved sports superstar. After I went abroad, I joined the most famous international fashion magazine and became the chief photographer. In the past 3 years, I have held photography exhibitions and won many awards, big and small, becoming a well-known Chinese photographer in the industry. So you see, Alan and I have both developed towards a better future after leaving each other, and neither of us is trapped in the past. One day at the end of the year, I went on a business trip to Santorini, a honeymoon destination, for an outdoor shoot. Unexpectedly, I met Edith, who was on vacation here. I admit that when my eyes fell on the diamond ring on the ring finger of her left hand, my heart skipped a beat for a moment. She was smart enough to notice my momentary daze and smiled at me, saying, "I'm married, and the groom is not Alan. Congratulations." I smiled politely. "Bella, I still want to say sorry to you. I was very naive back then. In order to get Alan, I deliberately did a lot of things that made you misunderstand. He always indulged me because my father once donated blood to his mother, who was considered his mother's savior. So the two families have always had a very good relationship. Those rumors about the engagement and marriage were all just speculations made by netizens based on the pictures. In fact, Alan had already introduced you to his parents. He loves you very much." Hearing these words from Edith after 3 years, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. It has nothing to do with me anymore. I smiled calmly. If Alan's love is like this, then I can only say that it's really unlucky to be loved by him. No, if one day your misunderstanding is cleared up, you will find that being loved by him is very happy. Edith smiled freely. I know that he will never open his heart to me, so I stopped the loss in time. I would never have imagined that one day I would sit and chat with Edith calmly, and we even had a rather pleasant conversation. Finally, Edith looked at me with red eyes and said, "Bella, I didn't lose to you. I lost to Alan's love." Not long after saying goodbye to Edith in Santorini, I met Alan at work. I don't know why Alan, an athlete, would accept the invitation to shoot the cover of a women's fashion magazine. I don't want to flatter myself, but I can't help but guess that he came for me this time as well, because in the past 3 years, on every one of my birthdays, big and small anniversaries, and the new year, I have received gifts sent by Alan from all over the world. Even many times, I have seen his figure at the hidden corner downstairs of my apartment building. Sometimes we were just a few steps apart, but until I hesitated and walked into the apartment building, he never took a step forward. I think he may have finally learned that in a relationship, the two people are always equal, and he seems to be learning to respect me. After I arrived in Paris 3 years ago, he was in the selection period for the top club. He was too busy to do anything but send me greeting messages every day. I was annoyed by it but also thought that since we had loved each other once, there was no need to make it too ugly. So I didn't block his social media accounts. I just sent him a final message. "I'm doing very well. I'm doing what I like and feeling a great sense of accomplishment. I don't want to be disturbed by you anymore. I once loved Alan so much. throwing myself into it wholeheartedly and without reservation. But that love didn't receive the slightest return in 7 years. And I have also lost the ability to love others forever. Yes, I have tried in these years, whether it was through blind dates, social gatherings, or the suitors around me. No one could make my heart flutter anymore. But when Alan appeared in the photography studio, and after passing through the many staff members in the middle, he fixed his calm and focused gaze on my face at that moment. I knew that I was doomed. I was imprisoned within a self-drawn circle, trapped on the isolated island named Alan. This gaze across more than 3 years. He looked at me with a longing expression, and his voice was low but particularly clear in the noisy environment around us. I miss you so much, baby. I turned my head and didn't look at him. I couldn't say a simple, long time no see, but it really had been a long time. So long that the hysteria I had alone in the dark living room on the day I left seemed like something from a past life. If Alan weren't a basketball player, he would definitely be a qualified model. He has a good figure, a good posture, a steady stance, and a strong ability to understand. With just a few simple words from me, he could immediately pose in the right way, saving both time and effort. The designer shouted excitedly, "Have you two worked together before? You're so in sync." Alan looked at me with great interest as my face instantly turned red. It wasn't just that we had worked together. In the past, he didn't even need to say a word when he wanted me to change my pose. I could understand with just a gesture from him. After the shooting ended, my French colleague who was learning Chinese said goodbye to me. "Yi, when is your wedding?" "Next month. I'll go back to China in advance to prepare." I replied to her, "Okay, be sure to invite our team." Of course, out of the corner of my eye, I looked at Alan. He stood there, stunned, as if he had been struck dumb. "Bella." His voice suddenly became hoarse and low, and his whole body was slightly trembling. "Are you in a relationship?" I had never seen him so nervous before, even in the last few seconds of the most important final game. During the crucial free throw, he had always been confident. I smiled mockingly. "What? Don't I deserve to be loved?" His eyes immediately turned red. "We never broke up. How can you get married to someone else?" He just looked at me, almost on the verge of collapse. "Baby, I've waited for you for 3 years. I didn't dare to disturb you or get close to you. I filled myself with training and games, running at a high speed like a machine. Why do you still want to be with someone else? Are you feeling wrong just because you've waited for me for 3 years? Do you think I should be grateful?" I looked at him and was so aggressive for the first time. "Then what about the 7 years when I loved you hopelessly all by myself?" Alan's painful expression showed a moment of confusion. He asked me a very silly question. "Do you mean that if I wait for you for another 4 years, you'll come home with me?" Looking at his embarrassing expression, I didn't feel the slightest bit of pleasure in my heart. While hurting Alan, I was also hurting myself. "No." With just one sentence, I denied all possibilities. Alan stood there, stunned, not daring to follow me anymore. The magazine cover that Alan cooperated with our magazine was quickly launched while the popularity was still high. Sharp-eyed fans soon discovered that the chief photographer this time was me. So my personal account and the official account of our magazine were once again attacked by some irrational girlfriend fans. Why is Bella still pestering brother Alan like a ghost? Is she regretting it now that she sees her ex-boyfriend becoming successful? No one is worthy of Alan. So what if she's the chief photographer? Who knows how she got that position? After this issue of Alan's magazine sells out, I will definitely boycott this magazine. A magazine that hires someone as shameless as Bella as the chief photographer must be very unprofessional. However, this time, Alan reacted quickly. He posted this set of magazine covers on his personal social media account, which almost never posts anything except about basketball. He also attached a photo that I didn't have much impression of. The composition and lighting were still very immature. At first glance, it was taken by me when I was in the university photography club with my poor skills back then. In the photo, he was jumping up to shoot the ball. Alan high-profilely wrote my name in the caption. "Thank you, Bella, the best photographer in the world." At the same time, his official accounts on 8 other platforms also jointly reposted this set of photos. Overnight, my Photography Works Twitter account gained millions of new followers. Alan sent me a message to apologize. "I'm sorry. I was so busy with games before that I didn't go online much and didn't know that the fans were this crazy. If you need it, I can step forward and help you sue these fans who have been cyberbullying you. My fiancé will be unhappy if you do this." I deliberately poked at his heart. "Sorry," he replied to me after a long time. In fact, there was no fiancé or wedding. I just promised a very close friend from university that I would take my top-notch teen to help her shoot her wedding as a gift. Since Alan had misunderstood, I didn't want to explain. What really made me give up 3 years ago wasn't the cyberbullying from the fans. This kind of cyberbullying had always accompanied him since he started playing in the professional league. After every mistake, the fans who had supported him before would block the door of the restroom, humiliating, scolding, and even cursing him. What I had always cared about was Alan's indifference towards me over those years. I thought I was a very decisive person and that once I let go, I wouldn't look back. But when I knew that I wasn't the only one who had tossed and turned and couldn't sleep at night for 3 years, I didn't know what to do. What would be my outcome if I started over? What should I do if I made the same mistakes again? In the past 3 years, I had always avoided all news related to Alan. This time, he accepted an exclusive interview with our magazine, and it was impossible for me not to see it. Reporter: Alan, we've noticed that since you started playing in the professional league, no matter which team you played for, your jersey number has always been 97. Does it have any special meaning? Alan: it's the date when I first met my girlfriend in my freshman year of university. September 7th. September 7th. Didn't I first meet him at the league game at the end of October? I thought of the photo he posted on Twitter that I had no impression of. A flash of inspiration hit me, and I dug out the old external hard drive and found the old photos I took when I was in the school photography club. In September 2013, I indeed took photos of the school team at that time. If I wasn't just flattering myself, the girlfriend he mentioned should be me. Right. But if he and I were in love with each other, I really couldn't figure out why he was so hot and cold towards me during the 4 years we were together. Why didn't he ever share his work with me? Every time I brought up the basketball game, he showed extreme disgust and was too lazy to respond. If he also liked me, why did he make our relationship so terrible? There was now a gap of 3 years between us. We hadn't met, spoken, or had any intersection that could support our relationship. After his 4 years of disgust, indifference, and resistance, this relationship had long been beyond recognition and in ruins. I really wanted to know what Alan was relying on to love me now. Was it guilt? I had always thought that the relationship between people was actually very simple but also very cruel. As long as one person never gave hope again, even the strongest love would fade away. So far, I no longer doubted Alan's feelings. But what worried me was whether I was willing to give it a try. Whether I was willing to give Alan a chance and also give myself a chance. A month later, I returned to attend a university classmate's wedding. It was no surprise that I would meet Alan at the wedding, and we were even arranged to sit at the same table. After all, our group of people had a good time together in university, and this couple was a mutual friend of Alan and me. After the solemn ceremony, the university classmates sitting at the same table chatted about the old days in university. Suddenly, one classmate mentioned, "In the end, we still don't know who drank that spiked drink. Do you think that guy sold me fake drugs?" The whole table burst into laughter. Alan, who hadn't said a word, frowned. When did this happen? When we went to the beach in our junior year and rented a villa. That classmate said. We added a little something to liven things up. It was just a joke among us. Oh, right. You didn't know. You were accompanying Bella to pick up seashells on the beach at that time. You guys are so mean. Ha ha ha. I didn't understand the situation and laughed along with everyone. With a bang, Alan's cup hit the edge of the table and fell onto the carpet with a dull thud. An athlete's hands are usually very steady, and Alan clearly wasn't the kind of person who was so careless that he couldn't hold a wine glass. I looked at Alan's extremely pale and helpless face under the light in surprise. "What's wrong, Alan?" an old classmate asked in surprise. Alan stood up, his steps a little unsteady, and his hand resting on the table. "I need to go out for a while." When he spoke, his eyes were empty, and he clearly avoided my gaze, not daring to look me in the eye. I stared at his stiff back and still followed him out. "Alan," I called him, and he stopped in his tracks but didn't turn around. As I got closer to him, I found that he was shaking like a leaf. I suddenly understood why Alan had lost his composure that night when I confessed my love. If he was just drunk, with Alan's personality, he wouldn't have been so out of control as to hug me and kiss me. "You drank that spiked drink, right?" "Sorry." I waited for a long time, but what I got was his apology. I was stunned for a moment, and then it was as if I had lost my footing and fallen into an abyss. After a while, I asked mockingly, "What do you mean by sorry? Do you think I drugged you?" I heard Alan's erratic breathing, and I also heard his voice shaking even more violently. I'm sorry, Bella. I had a very important game the next day. Doping was detected in my urine test before the game, and it almost ruined my career. So I felt as if my throat was blocked by something indescribable, making it difficult for me to breathe and causing a stinging pain. I gasped for breath in a daze and vaguely recalled the conversation between Alan and me later that year. Why did you do this? Because I like you. So you did this. Bella, you're a girl. Why did you make things like this? I understand. I'm sorry. I was too impulsive. Aren't you afraid that I'll hate you because of this? Then forget it. Anyway, you don't come back to school often. Then we'll never see each other again. I had always thought that Alan was asking about the confession and kiss after drinking that year, but I never expected that he was actually asking about that spiked drink. This absurd misunderstanding had been between us for so many years, and we had been completely unaware of it. But what about Alan? Since he thought that way, why did he still let me be with him? Now that things had come to this, everything was clear. Without asking, I knew that there was no more reasonable answer than revenge. I smiled mockingly. So you were with me to get revenge. Many things now had answers. Why Alan was indifferent and ignored me. Why no matter how much I tried to please him, he was always hot and cold towards me. Because from the beginning to the end, in his eyes, I was a despicable person who secretly drugged him to force him to submit. And I didn't deserve his cherishing at all. No. Alan's voice was hoarse. I never thought that way. I was angry and conflicted. But I was also afraid that if we weren't together, you would never see me again. So you just watched me serve you without dignity for 4 years. I wiped away the tears that had flowed out and looked at his familiar face. You kissed me and had sex with me. Didn't you always feel disgusted? Didn't you feel like vomiting when you thought that I had drugged you when you slept with me? You must have felt disgusted. Right. I laughed, and big tears fell from my eyes. Otherwise, you wouldn't have treated me like that. We were always very good before we got together. No, I never thought that way. Alan also cried. He rushed over and hugged me tightly in his arms. I misunderstood you. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I never expected that I would see Alan cry in my lifetime. I pushed him away, wiped away my tears, and said, "What the hell are you crying for? I loved you with all my heart. But in your eyes, I was such a person. Why did you still stay with me? Why did you use cold violence to get revenge on me when you were with me? I've thought about it for 7 years. A full 7 years. And I still couldn't figure out why you treated me like this." I asked, "Will you come home tomorrow?" My head was splitting with pain, and the truth was too humiliating. Alan always held me tightly and knelt on the ground with me. He couldn't say another word of explanation and just kept sobbing and softly calling my name. The memories of the past years flashed before my eyes rapidly. The regrets, the debts, the losses, the remorse, all vanished in an instant. I thought, this was the real end. Before, I just felt tired and wanted to be a little nicer to myself and didn't want to continue. But at this moment, I truly died once. This time when I returned to China, I really softened my heart and really thought about whether I could give him a chance to start over. Now that the truth was out, I could finally break away completely and never have to be torn again. Alan, let me go. I decided to stay in Paris to live permanently. After saying goodbye at the capital airport, I waved to my friends and prepared to go through the security check. But the moment I turned my head, through the crowd coming and going, I saw the person standing in the distance. We only looked at each other for a second. I turned around and took a step. The end meant that we would never see each other again. The sky was as clear as a wash. I rode on that huge roaring cloud and flew towards my new life from which I would never look back.